Hi, I'm Mr. Steve, and I want to tell you a story. The story we're going to read today is called Where is Baby Bear? It's a book about animal homes. You know, we all have homes. Some of us have houses, and some of us have trailers. Some of us live in apartments. And when I go with the Boy Scouts, my home for a long time is a tent, but it's still my home. And animals have homes too. So this is what this book's going to talk about. The book was written by Jane Belk Moncure, and the illustrator, the person that drew all the pictures, is Paige Billenfry. And it's part of a series called the Magic Castle Readers. They're the publishers. Okay? The author writes the book and the publisher prints it. So you need both of them to get a book out. So this is the book we're going to read. Where is Baby Bear? Okay. But they first start out with something very important. They talk about libraries and they talk about books. It says, did you know a library is a magic castle with many word windows in it? What is a word window? If you said a book, you're right. A book is a word window because the words and pictures let you look and see many things. Books are your windows to a wide, wide world around you. You know, you hear a lot today about going into space. Now, most of us aren't going to be going into space, but you can read about it, and the people that go up in space will write books and tell you what it's like to be up there. So you can use a book to go many places that you couldn't go by yourself. The library is a magic castle. Come to the magic castle when you're growing tall. Rows and rows of word windows line every single wall. They reach up high as the sky, and you'll want to open them all. For every time you open one, a new adventure has begun. And there they are. They're doing things like you do. They're reading books. And when you go to the library and you go down to pick out a book, you'll just see rows and rows and rows of books, and they all tell different stories. And, you know, if you want to read a book about animals, you can read one there. If you want to read a book about astronauts, they have them there, or people from history. You know, all sorts of subjects you can read in books. Okay, so here's our story. Peter opened a word window. Guess what he saw? He saw some animals playing in the woods. Will you play with me? Said Peter. Yes, said the animals. We will play hide and seek with you. I bet they were awfully excited to have a new playmate play hide and seek with them. You know, sometimes when you have all the same friends and you do things, it can be kind of boring. So it's always neat to meet new people and get to know new people, you know, people that are like you and people that aren't like you, because all of us together make the world what it is. So the animals told Peter, he says, we will hide first. Close your eyes. He says, don't peek. And away they ran. They are running. Now, who do you think was running the fastest? You have a raccoon and a bear and a duck and a rabbit. I bet you the rabbit was running the fastest. And the bear was probably the slowest, kind of lumbering around and taking his time. You know, he's kind of slow sometimes, but he's pretty smart. So Peter counted to 10. And when he finished, he said, "Here I come, ready or not." He said, "I will find Duck first," said Peter. And he looked behind a tree. Was Duck there? Nope. Peter looked under a rock. Was Duck there? Mm-mm. Well, maybe Duck went home, said Peter. And Peter ran to the pond. Peter saw turtles, a frog, and some fish, but not Duck. Then he looked behind some cattails, and cattails are plants that grow in ponds. "There you are, Duck. You're at home in the pond where you belong," said Peter. So he found Duck. The next thing Peter said is he's going to find Bunny. First thing he did is he went and looked in the barn. It's a big old barn there with lots of places to hide. It can be awfully hard to find Bunny in the barn. But he wasn't in the barn, though. He wasn't there. He looked all over. Said, "Maybe Bunny went home," said Peter. Well, Peter ran into the field. He saw bees and butterflies and grasshoppers, but not Bunny. No. Then Peter looked behind some daisies. Guess who he found? He found Bunny. "There you are, Bunny. You're at home in the field where you belong." And that's where bunnies need to be. In the field with the flowers and with lots of green things to eat and soft leaves to lay on. So he was home. Next, Peter went to look for Raccoon. Where do you think raccoons have a home? Well, Peter went up into a tree. He saw baby birds, and he saw a squirrel, and they live in trees, but not Raccoon. But then he looked in a hole in the tree, and there he was. There was Raccoon. And raccoons, they like holes. They like nice, snug places where they can be safe and they can store food. And, they like to be way high up so they can look around. So they like to make their home inside of trees. And that's what Peter thought. He said, "There you are, Raccoon. You're at home in the tree where you belong." So now he's going to go look for Baby Bear. And he said, "If I find Baby Bear, I'll win the game." And he went and ran to the beach. Okay. What do you see at a beach? You see boats. Usually a lot of boats. Boats for fishing and boats for riding in. All sorts of kinds of boats. Well, Peter looked up and down the beach, and he looked in a boat. Was Baby Bear hiding there? Nope, he wasn't there. "Maybe Baby Bear went home," said Peter. "But I do not know where Baby Bear lives." So Peter sat down on an old log. "Well, where does Baby Bear live?" asked Peter. Raccoon wouldn't tell him. Duck wasn't talking. And Bunny was keeping his mouth shut. They weren't going to give him any help in finding Bear. "I give up, Peter," he said. "Baby Bear wins the game." When all of a sudden, just then the log began to roll and everyone fell off. Plop! "Surprise!" said Baby Bear. "You were sitting on the home. I win the game. And bears will do that. Bears will go inside logs. Sometimes, if they're in places where there are a lot of people, they may be in drainage ditches or culverts or, some place where they can hibernate because, they do sleep a lot during the winter. That's one way they keep alive when it's cold and there isn't much to eat. So Baby Bear was inside the log. Well, everyone had a great time, and Peter said, "Maybe I will win the next time. But now I must go to my home. Goodbye." And Peter closed the word window. He closed the book. Some things to think about. Where does this story happen? Did it happen inside a building? No, I don't think so. It happened outdoors, right? And so what are some important things about that place? Well, the outdoors, you see all sorts of different things there, all sorts of different animals and creatures. In the outdoors, they could be hot, it could be cold, and there's always all sorts of things going on outside. What are two things you learned about animal homes? Well, different animals have different homes, and the homes aren't all the same, but for them, it's home. And they like being right where they are. So sometimes you don't have to have exactly what someone else has to be happy. You can be happy just the way you are with what you have. So that is the book for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be back later and read another book to you. And we'll get to learn something else from a different word window. So for now, goodbye.